Greetings to everyone. You are all welcome to our channel, Pros and Cons Accountancy Tutorials. My name remains Edward, and you can call me Ed. So we are back again, and today we want to start something on IAS 33. And IAS 33 is known as earning per share. In fact, earning per share is a ratio which is part of financial statement analysis. But let me say it is the only ratio that comes with a standard, IAS 33. So it tells us that it's a ratio that can be very useful and needed as well. And therefore, we have to give it some time and make sure we grab the basis behind it. So IAS 33, earning per share. What is earning per share? Earning per share simply means that the amount for which we are paying to each share, let me say to each ordinary share that we have in our company. So we may have profit after tax of 20,000, and then we may have shares of about, let's say, 10,000. So if we divide the profit after tax by our shares, we get what we call the earning per share. But in any case, there are some companies that have preference shares. Preference shares. The earning per share that we are talking about earning per ordinary shares, right? So these shares are shares to the main shareholders of the company without these preference shareholders, right? So in that case, then we mean that for you to get an earning per share to ordinary shareholders, then we have to take out our preference share or preference dividend from the profit after tax. So basically, we may have a profit after tax, but within this profit after tax, that's where we are going to pay our dividend. But because we want earning per share for ordinary shareholders, then we will have to take the dividend of what the preference shareholders. Then whatever will be left, we can share to the ordinary shareholders. So if we are supposed to put something down, we are saying that we are dealing with IAS 33, and that is earning per share. Earning per share. In ratios, we will say earning per share is equal to profit after tax less your preference dividend, all divided by what? All divided by your ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. So it means we will have to take the preference share dividend from it before we divide by ordinary shares to get our earning per share. So basically, this is the formula for earning per share. And this is what has its own standard called IAS 33. So it should tell you that there's a lot we are going to do to come out with this formula again. If, let's say, you've done ratios, you may find it to be easy, but this formula may be seen to be easy. But when we go in it, in terms of IAS 33, you will see that it has a lot of issues that we need to deal with. Right. So one of these issues, as I'm talking about, one is whereby we have a full issue of shares. You know, when you have a company and you have your shares, you may decide to issue some out again, right? You decide to issue some for cash. And if you issue it at a full price, it is one aspect of what earning per share IAS 33. and therefore we will need to talk about full issue, right? Full price issue. Full price issue. One of the things that we also need to talk about is what we call bonus issue. Bonus issue. So when we talk about bonus issue, for bonus issue, we issue it out to our own what? Staffs. We issue it out to our own staffs. Let's say I have a company and I have a friend who is a staff. And I'll be like, no, Charlie, you've been in this company for long. So we want to attribute some of the shares that we have to you. In any case, we have issued shares, but that shares that we issued didn't come out with any money. We did not get any money out from it. So what do? We issue from our own retained earning. The retained earning that we have in the company, that's where we issue it from. So, when we talk about retained earnings, there are earnings that we've gained for years, which exist in the company, right? But in this case, because we are issuing the shares bonus, they are not going to pay anything. So once we are issuing shares, we expect that the amount in relation to the shares should go up. So because it's a bonus, then we will take that amount from earning per share and come and give it to us, the shares, the ordinary shares. That's the idea. So the people will not come and pay anything. The staff that we are issuing to will not come and pay anything. We will just take the money in relation to that from our retained and place it under what? Shares. That's all. And place it under the ordinary shares. So that's the idea for bonus issue. So it means there's no cash coming in. If it's a bonus issue, there's no cash coming in. That is the idea we should get from there. Okay. Now, one other thing that we can talk about is what we call right issue. Right issue. So when we talk about right issue, well, right issue is also more or less a bonus issue, but this time around we are issuing it to our existing shareholders, the shareholders who already existed in the company. They are the people that we are issuing these shares to. So we are issuing it to them at a lower price than the market price. When we talk about bonus, we are not getting anything at all. But for full price, we are getting our what? Full money. But for the right issue, we are issuing at a lower price. At a lower price. At a lower price. So that is the idea for right issue as well. Now, if one is bonus and then one is right, if you look at the bonus, we didn't take anything. So there's a bonus component over there. And the right issue too, we are issuing it not at the full price. So it tells you that that one too has what? That one too has a bonus component. That one has a bonus component. So for the bonus issue, we have what we call the bonus fraction. We are going to calculate for what we call a bonus fraction. And then for the right issue too, we are going to calculate for what we call the right fraction. Instead of calling it a bonus fraction, we will call it what? The right fraction. All right. Then, one other thing to be careful with is what we call the convertibles. Convertibles. The convertibles. So the convertibles also mean that I have debenture, I have a loan in a particular company. So they took loan from me, or let's say a debenture or something like that from me. Then I decided that, okay, I want to convert it into shares. I want to convert it into shares. So if I convert it into shares, I'm not bringing in any money, right? I'm not bringing any additional money. So at the end of the day, there's no money that we are bringing for us to say that we are using that money to generate more profit, right? It is my money that I've just converted into shares. The money that you guys were having in order to generate the same profit is that same money. Nothing has changed. So even though I'm converting, so shares more or less will be going up, but my the retained earning or the profit after tax we are going to get will remain the same. It will remain the same. So in that case, it is going to dilute the shares, the earning per share. So if let's say we already had 10,000 Ghana cedis as our profit, and initially we were having 5,000 shares, what does that mean? It means we are going to get earning per share to be what, 10,000 divided by 5,000 shares, giving us 2 per share. But the moment we convert, let's say, a 5,000 shares, a 5,000 loan to shares, let's say it gives us additional 2,000. It gives us additional 2,000. Then it means we are going to get 10,000 profit divided by what? Divided by 7,000 shares. 7,000 shares. And that will surely dilute what? The earning per share. It will bring it down. It will surely dilute the earning per share. So when we talk about dilution, or diluted earning per share, it is basically about convertibles and what we call warrant or share options. Share options, or what we call warrant. My aim is that we should be able to, at least for nothing at all, deal with full price. Deal with full price before we call it a close today. Before we call it a close today. Now, in terms of convertibles, normally you will be given 2 years of conversion. So convertibles, normally we convert it at where we are going to get more shares. Right, the rate at which when we convert, we are going to get more shares. That is where we convert it. The rate at which when we convert, we are going to get more shares. So let's say I have 10,000 as the loan. And they're saying that if I convert it at a rate of 10, I can convert it at a rate of 10 cedis, or I can convert it at a rate of what, 20 cedis. Surely, if I convert it at 10 cedis, I'm going to get more shares. So I'll convert it at what? The 10 cedi area, so that I will get what? More shares. As a rational human being, that's what you do. So that you get what? You get more shares. So always the conversion is done at a rate that we are going to get what? More shares. For students, you may be faced with questions, and that questions will give you 2 years. The conversions will be like 2 years. So let's say if we convert it at 2024, you'll get this. If you convert it at 2025, you get this amount. Please just go with the year that you are going to get what? You are going to get more shares once the conversion is done. Once the conversion is done. Let's talk about the share options. So for the share options, you know, shares has market price. Shares has market price. So let's say same way you have loan in a particular company, and the share price is supposed to be 20 cedis. So if you want to convert, if you go to the market and you want to convert your loan to shares, you have to convert it at 20 cedis. But the company decided to give it to you to convert it at 10 cedis, right? So once you convert it at 10 cedis, what does that mean? It simply means that you are going to get more shares than if you had used what? The full market price. So that one to it means it is going to bring what? More shares than expected. And it's going to what? Dilute the earning per share. It's actually going to dilute what? The earning per share. One other thing that we need to understand also under convertibles is that you have loan in a company, right? And now you don't want to go by the loan again. You don't want to be taking loan interest. You want to take dividend. So you want to convert it into what? Into shares. what will happen is that if that year you have taken any interest, then you have to reverse the interest because you are converting to come and get what? Dividend. So if you are converting to come and get dividend, then bring back what? The interest that we've given to you. So that interest will come and add up to what? The profit after tax. Before we now before we now take out preference dividend and then divide by the number of shares. So surely, though it has diluted it, but you brought back what? The interest that you take. You brought back the interest you take. And as I said, we are going to get questions to deal with all this, but today my aim is for us to deal with what full price issue so that we'll be able to continue in our next session to deal with bonus right issue. Then we'll be going like that. So let's look at full price issue. Let's look at full price issue. Already we know that earning per share is just your profit after tax less preference dividend divided by ordinary shares. But what if you issue more shares? What if you issue more shares? One thing we have to understand is we may have a company which has a number of shares. We have started, let's say, our financial year, January to December. So we have started using the shares that we have already. And somewhere in the middle of the year, we decided to issue. Right. Now, that shares that we've issued, the shares that we've issued will come and add up to whatever shares that we have. It will come and add up to the existing shares that we had. But the question is, that existing shares didn't start from January. It came in the middle of the year. So normally when you are using full price issue, we weigh the shares. We weigh the incoming shares. The idea is that you were not there throughout the whole year. So we have to use what? The time factor. We will have to use what? The time factor in order to rate what? In order to rate the shares. Or in order to weigh the shares. Let's deal with weighted average. So we are going to calculate for what we call weighted average shares. Though your earnings are there, your earnings is there, but we need what? A weighted average share because the shares didn't start from the beginning. So we have to calculate for what we call weighted average shares. The incoming shares, the shares that we've issued, did not begin from January. So we have to use the time factor to weigh it. Let's try and get a question on weighted average shares. I believe that one is going to make things very easy. So before we even deal with full price, let's deal with weighted average shares. Weighted average shares. So let's have a scenario to deal with weighted average shares. Let me get this scenario. Okay, so there's a scenario here to deal with weighted average shares. So let's look at this. IAS 33. Right. Now, on 1st January 2024, Abner Limited had 40,000 ordinary shares in issue. And then on 1st July 2024, the company issued 100,000 new shares at full market price. Let's listen to it well. The 100,000 came in on 1st July, meaning in the middle of the year. And now we are supposed to calculate the weighted average number of shares for 2024. So let's go to the board and see. Now, 1st January 24, we had 400,000. Let's check again and see if it is 400,000. We had 400,000 shares. Good. We had 400,000 shares. And then 1st July 24, we had 100,000 shares. So in all, we should have gotten 500,000 shares, right? But the issue is this 100,000 came in what? 1st July 2024. So we have to weigh it if we want it to be part of what the shares that we are going to use in calculating for earning per share, then we have to wait because the time factor, it didn't start from January. So we can't let it go up to December. So in that case, average shares, our weighted average shares is going to be what? For the existing it was 400,000 shares. So we can't touch it. However, for the new issue, it is going to be what? 100,000 times 6 over, it is left with 6 months to the end of the year. So it's going to be 6 over 12. And what is 100,000 divided by, multiplied by 6 over 12? That should give us 50,000. So 50,000 shares. And in all, we are going to get weighted average shares of what? 450,000. 450,000. So this is going to be our weighted average shares. That's going to be our weighted average shares. Another way around that we can deal with this is the existing was there. We can say the existing was there for 6 months. So 400,000 times 6 over 12, giving us um, giving us 200,000. Then the total, which will be the 400,000 plus the 100,000. We will only have 500,000 in the company for also 6 months. So times 6 over 12, which will give us 250,000. So in effect, we are going to get 450,000. So anyway, you want to deal with this, you'll be good to go to get your weighted average shares. To get your weighted average shares. So in a full price, to talk about a full price issue, this is how you are going to calculate for your weighted average shares. You just divide by the profit after tax that you have less preference dividend from it, and that's all. And that is all. So the profit after tax less preference dividend, you divide it by the weighted average earning per share, and we are good to go. So let's go and get a question on full issue. Full issue. So that's full price issue. So on 1st January 2024, Abner Limited had 400,000 ordinary shares, and then on 1st July, it issued 100,000 new shares at full market price. So if you look at this, we have already calculated for what? We have already calculated for the weighted average earning per share, right? And let's go to question number 2. It said Par Limited had 500,000 shares at 1st January, and then on October, it issued over 200,000 new shares at full price. What is the weighted average earning? What is the weighted average number of shares for the year ended 31st December? Here, we were not giving the profit after tax, but if let's say we had a profit after tax, once we are done with the weighted average per share, all what we are going to do is divide it. Sorry, if we are, yes, we have the weighted average share. So if we have the weighted average share and then you have your profit after tax, just divide the profit after tax by weighted average share, and then you have your earning per share under full price issue. So you can see that for full price is very easy. Full price is very, very, very easy. Full price is very easy. So full price issue, we are saying that it is your profit after tax less preference dividend. Then you divide it by what? Weighted average shares. weighted average shares. And that will be all for full price. So let's go on again and calculate for weighted average shares. Let's calculate for weighted average shares. So with this par limited, it was 500,000 shares in January, and then October it issued what 200,000 new shares at full price. So let's go and deal with the weighted average shares. So 1st January was 500,000 shares, right? And then 1st October, 1st October, that is 2020, it issued 100,000 shares. So that's issue. Now, so our weighted average shares is going to be, we have the existing. We already have the existing of 500,000. So the new is going to be 100,000 times, we have October, so it means we have 3 months to go. So October, November, December. So which is 3/12. And how much is that going to give us? 100,000 multiplied by 3/12. Let me use my calculator. 100,000 times 3 divided by 12, which will give us 25,000. Which will give us 25,000 shares. So in all, we are going to get 5,000 shares as our weighted average shares. So if we have our profit after tax, then it's going to be our profit after tax less preference dividend divided by 5,000 shares. So let's assume that we have our profit after tax to be let's say 100,000 cedis. Then it means we are going to get our earning per share at full market price to be what? 100,000 divided by 5,000 shares. And I think that is going to give us 0. So our earning per share is going to be a 0.525. Let me do the division. Let's see. So that is 100,000 divided by 5,000 to give us, it will give us 0.190. 0.190 per share. All right, so this is the full market price, and it's something very, very easy that I believe we are all going to be able to deal with it as fast as possible. So this is where we call it a close for today. Surely in our subsequent videos, we are going to continue with the bonus issue. We just don't want to be putting everything together, but deal with it one by one so that we'll be able to understand and also get it very well when we are trying to revise. So that is for full market price. Subsequent videos, we will deal with the bonus issue. Then we continue with rights, convertible, and then the share option. So this is where we call it a close today. But please try and then subscribe, like videos, and then share with others for us. We are very much happy for the feedbacks that we get from you, and I pray that it will continue like that. Then you also share with friends and family. If there's anything that you need us to work on for you, please don't hesitate. Just put it at the comment section, or you can give us a call. Then we will be ready to help you out. Thank you very much. My name is Still Edward, and here is pros and cons accountancy tutorials. Bye bye.